While they look for the record button,
Yeah,
can
I'm
people
here.
just confirm they can see my slide? Yeah,
Okay.
thumbs up from Fred. Thank you,
I
Fred.
don't see it, so.
Because you've got 18 monitors. You just got to find the right one. Fred can see it, and that's what's important, right? As long as I have one thumbs up, so that's good. So yeah, good afternoon, or whatever the heck time it is in India. Evan, good evening, good morning, happy summer, happy winter. I don't know what it is over there right now, but that's kind of neat that somehow you found this Salesforce community group halfway around the world and thought, oh well, let me join in to see what I can learn from the Canadian folks. So as I mentioned at the start, I manage a team of what's called solution engineers here at Salesforce, and I live in Ottawa. And my team are basically folks that are passionate about Salesforce solutions, who support our sales teams in their endeavors to, get more clients or existing clients to use more of Salesforce in our public sector organizations across Canada. So the reason I picked the topic was because Salesforce, our fiscal year starts on February 1st. And at the start of a fiscal year, there's a lot of planning that goes on. And from a managerial perspective, there's a lot of career development, talent review, performance review, hiring that I do with my team. And I am hiring, and as a result, I've been living in LinkedIn for a bit more than I was hoping for, trying to find good candidates. So I thought, oh well, you know what? Maybe this is timely with everything that I've learned and put together to kind of give the broader community an idea of, hey, if there's some things that I could be doing that would help either my brand or my knowledge of Salesforce, or help make me jump or stand out more on LinkedIn from a Salesforce perspective, then maybe that's going to be beneficial for everybody at the end of the day. So let me get into this, right? I always have to put this at the start of every slide deck. Basically, our lawyer's saying, we're sitting over there and we're watching you, Chris. And if you say anything about future capabilities, you have to make sure that you have this slide, because people should not be making purchasing decisions based on future capabilities, only what's generally available today. All right, so we've asked the lawyers to leave now so we can talk amongst ourselves. Here are the 7 topics I'm going to cover off today. But, I thought, as Kevin was kind of doing the introduction, I'm actually going to take number 7, the parting words. I'm going to flip that around and make that my first one. Of course, I didn't have enough time to go and change all the numbering, but it's actually, here's a question, right? And just come off mute or put it in the chat. How many Salesforce clients do you think we have here in Ottawa? About
1,000.
How much?
2,000.
1,000.
Are we talking about only public sector or?
Nope. Anybody.
Anybody.
So Ottawa. Remember the size of Ottawa, right? 1 million people. All right. So it's hard to tell. Like Fred and Corinne, if I were to take your 2 answers, add them together and divide by 2, it's about right. So we have about 1,000 clients just here in Ottawa, which is really impressive because there's a ton of companies that range anywhere from a Shopify, which is a huge client of ours, to charity organizations that have like 5 people, and federal government, and kind of everything in between. So that kind of blew me away when I realized that, or was told that a couple of years ago. I didn't realize there's that many. In Canada, there's about 33,000 people right now that have jobs that allow them to work with Salesforce or focus on Salesforce. And I don't mean people who are let's say a sales rep for Solace and who are using Salesforce. I'm talking about people whose careers are actually based on Salesforce and their knowledge of Salesforce. So in Canada, we're actually quite a decent sized player. And I just wanted to, bring this to everybody's attention, because I think oftentimes, we all wake up and we do our Monday to Friday 9 to 5 gig, and we don't realize just how many of us there actually are, either in Ottawa or Canada or globally, for that matter. And it's growing like quickly, but it's just kind of mind-boggling. So suffice to say that there's lots of opportunity out there. If you know Salesforce, if you have Salesforce skill sets, there's lots of opportunity out there, right? And the nice thing, if you went to university and you took Economics 101, the very first graph that they put on the screen was the supply and demand graph, right? And we all know, based on watching the oil prices, when demand drops off and supply is still high, gas becomes cheap. When supply drops off and demand increases, then gas becomes expensive. So right now, there's a good demand for Salesforce skill sets out there. So demand is going up. And it takes people time to get trained. So I forget who it was. I think it was Nikhil from Carleton U. So you're going to be coming out into the workforce eventually, and you're going to help with the supply. Nice thing for you is you're going to come out into a local territory with a lot of clients who would probably benefit from your skill sets. So I just want to kind of start off by setting the stage with that, because I think it helps frame the rest of the conversation. All right, any questions on that before we move on to the next thing? Okay. Number one, or really number two, but we're going to go with number one. So you have to stay relevant, and Salesforce puts out 3 releases a year, and that's just upgrading kind of what we have. And then we also put out products, new products. So it's difficult for me as a solution engineer who works for Salesforce to stay on top of new things. It's difficult for my clients to stay on top of new things, and for the developers, the administrators that are on the call, it's going to be difficult for you working with those companies to stay on top of all this, because you've got your daily tasks and your jobs, right? But if you can stay on top of things by joining like marketing events, by joining these kinds of calls, by going on a trailhead or whatever, then you're going to add a lot of credibility to the conversations you have inside your organization. So as a little quiz here, and again, if we can use the chat window for this, how many of these 12, I think it's 12, yeah, 12 solutions are new solutions that were released in the last year, right? So again, think back to when you took your last flight back in March of last year, and how many products on this list, just the number of products, how many products do you think are new that were released this year? Again, I got to find my chat window. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so Nash says 7, Jeff 3, Andrew 6, Fred, okay. All right, so the answer is 6. Now, I'm not going to ask you which ones they are, but I'm going to show you which ones they are. So these are the ones that were released in the last year. So brand new products, right? Meaning if you want them, you have to pay for them, right? So it really helps with your brand if your organization is running into some issue, or they're about to go down a custom development path, which is going to require lots and lots of labor and effort and weekend work. But if you're stayed relevant and you can say, well, hold on, I think Salesforce might already have a pre-built solution for that just came out. Let me do a bit of research, or you've already done your research, and all of a sudden, you're the person, right? You're the person at the table. They go, hey, You know, thank you very much. Appreciate the fact that you knew that employee experience is now a generally available product. Fantastic. That's going to save us a lot of time and money in the medium and long term, right? So staying relevant is really going to help your brand inside of your organization because you're going to be the go-to person. Hey, what do you think? You know, they're going to be seeking your opinion. Be visionary as well too. So this kind of dovetails into what I just talked about. And it's not about always just looking to see, you know, how can we solve this immediate problem or deliver this client's immediate request, right? It's kind of looking forward as well too. Where can we as an organization move? Where is Salesforce from an organization moving, right? So as we or your organization starts building out their plans for the future, again, that part of the conversation you can contribute to for the strategic or the digital transformation initiatives that the company is thinking about. You're going to have a say in that. And I don't know how many people have heard of Hyperforce. I would be surprised if really any of you have heard of Hyperforce. If you have heard of Hyperforce, congratulations, right? Because this is a new architecture, let's call it that. It's a new architecture that's going to allow Salesforce to deploy services in many more countries than where they are deployed today, but also deploy specific services in those countries as well. So congratulations, India was the first country in the world to go on Hyperforce. And they did that with our core services and marketing cloud last fall, right? So it's because India didn't have any data center where Salesforce was running. So they thought perfect use case to get Hyperforce in its first deployment over there. So what this basically does, I think I might have another slide here. What this basically does is we're not changing our services like Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Experience Cloud, right? What we're doing is we're putting this additional infrastructure or this additional architecture layer between what we have today and the different cloud service providers and their infrastructure services. So let me explain it a bit better. In Canada, for instance, we have a data center that runs in AWS in Montreal. And that's the only cloud service provider we run on today. But we don't have all of our products there. Like we don't have Marketing Cloud, we don't have Heroku, we don't have my Trailhead, because those are built on slightly different technologies and they're running down in the US. So what this allows us to do is to say, well, we don't really care what the infrastructure or the underlying technology layer is necessarily anymore, because what we can do is we can deploy Hyperforce in Azure, Google, or AWS. And what that allows us to do is take our Marketing Cloud, which is on a Microsoft stack, and deploy it in Canada, in Australia, India, in the UK, to Azure data centers in the future. This is that safe harbor slide. In the future, so that we can now run Marketing Cloud or My Trailhead or Heroku or the core services in many more countries that where it's not currently running. So this is where you as a visionary go, hey, you know what? I think the world's going to get, our life's going to get easier for us. And you know, Salesforce is coming up with this concept called Hyperforce, and it's coming to Canada actually. The first iteration is coming to Canada, is being built right now actually, so early summer timeframe. So any questions about that? So again, not only stay relevant, but be visionary as well too.
Now your uptime is depending on those providers in those countries that you're going to do. What is your SLA on this part? How you make sure you're 99.9 uptime?
Yeah, so uptime is, I think our published uptime that we put into like a standard contract is 99.9%. But we can also negotiate uptime. So we've got other contracts where it's 99.99%, right? So we are definitely not degrading performance. We are definitely not degrading availability, right? If either of those were the case, we wouldn't even consider doing this. The whole purpose of this is to take a very complex architecture at the application level and a very complex architecture at the infrastructure level, and instead of trying to redesign those for additional availability or improved SLA, we're improving that middle layer instead that connects the two to be more efficient, more scalable, more secure, et cetera.
Hey, Chris, I have a question about hyperforce. So is this hyperforce about where the data is stored? Like not geographically fixed?
Exactly. So that is one of the definite benefits, right? So for instance, not only will eventually the marketing cloud services come to Canada and run in Azure, but the underlying databases that store the data, so SQL Server, those are being leveraged inside of Canada as well too. So the service and the data now reside in country.
Okay.
And that's a big deal to government clients, banks, and any organization that has very sensitive data.
Yeah, like they are like probably a lot of like public sector, they are required, the data has to be in the Canadian territory.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
I do have a quick question. You might have talked about it, but I'm thinking, is the data centers that the Hyperforce is building in different countries, or the data that is stored in there are country specific, or is it like every data from everywhere?
So again, if you're running that service in Hyperforce, again, we'll use India because that's where it's deployed right now, then the data that you're writing into that system is being stored in India. It can still integrate with data outside of India to other data centers that are like in Japan or in Australia, whether they're Salesforce data or not, right? So you may be integrating with an SAP or an Oracle that's in some other data center in some other country. But for the purposes of Salesforce, right? If you're running Marketing Cloud in India, your marketing data is going to reside in India.
All right, thank you so much.
Chris, I have a question. Like, do we have an option to select which database can be used? Like right now, it will be Oracle. So can we have like Redis or Postgres for MySQL?
Well, okay, so I was shaking my head. So no, when you use the core services, the underlying database is Oracle. When you use Marketing Cloud, the underlying database is SQL Server, right? When you use Heroku, you can use MySQL or you can use basically whatever you want because that's the beauty of Heroku. But no, if you're using core services in India, then you don't get to say, I want to store all that data over in a SQL Server database in Azure, right? So we're not changing that architecture. It stays the same.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love the questions. I thought this would have been one of these, just quickly move on topics, but this is, I'm happy. So I think, Kevin, like how much time do I have, by the way?
You have up to 1:04. So you have lots of time.
1:04. That's very specific. All right. All right. Another thing around staying relevant is making sure you're honing your skills, right? you're impressing your colleagues, whether you're a developer or an admin. And I showed this site, geez, probably almost a year ago, Kevin, when we were talking about dynamic forms, that capability that was just being rolled into beta. So you couldn't play with it in your sandbox, or you could probably find a developer org somewhere that had it. But what we do is we have a bunch of folks at Salesforce that put together these quick sort of capability specific reusable demos. And on this site, you can say, so here's that dynamic actions and dynamic forms was over here that we showed last time. So if you're wanting to try something new, it's probably not going to, like, that hasn't been released, you know, as a really good example. It's not in Trailhead, so it's not going to be in one of your playgrounds. It might not even be in your developer, personal developer org either, right? So it's like, well, how can I go find these soon to be released features and just kind of kick the tires? Or how can I go play with something that, again, is outside of Trailhead and allows me a bit more flexibility with less constraints around what I can and cannot do. So I'll go into Flow Builder for an example, and I'll just show you sort of how these things are organized, but I'm not going to go through it. So they've set this up really nicely, right? So there's a video for each of these that is that 3-minute video of here is what the purpose of this particular demo is, right? So you can look at it and you go, okay, that's interesting, right? Now I want hands-on experience. So you can deploy this. So they actually package up the metadata, the data, etc. And you can deploy this into a Scratch org or deploy it into your own org if you wish. You know, I personally think deploying it into a Scratch org is a good way to do it, because at the end of the day, it's wiped clean, and then there's no trace of it. Then you can also view the code that was used if they're doing maybe a Lightning Web component, or if they have any kind of weird formulas inside of a flow, then you can view the code. And you can also get the demo scripts as well too. And then they have screenshots of each of the main steps that are called out in this video or demo as well. So you can't really get lost. It's like those bumper cars at Disney World that have the track in the middle, because you got 4-year-olds driving it, right? So the 4-year-olds just spinning the steering wheel, but they never go off the track because they can't, right? So these are really good for trying something out without the risk of mucking up a sandbox or something inside your organization. So again, a great way to stay relevant and impress your colleagues with some new features, or just learn something, but learn it outside of Trailhead.
Just can I ask a quick question? So are these, when you go into this, are you going into some type of development org, or like a Scratch org that you mentioned for every one of them?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so again, deploy it into, let's see, if you have a sandbox at your own company or organization, you want to deploy it in there. That's one way to do it. Or again, as I suggested, it's probably best just to try it in a Scratch org first. So again, you don't use up developer orgs or sandboxes unnecessarily.
That's great.
Is this a Salesforce build?
Yeah, this is built by Salesforce for folks like you that are curious.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
So again, all these, everything I'm talking about today, I already gave Kevin my slide deck. So all the URLs will be in that slide deck available from the community site afterwards to go and review, okay? All right. I bet you nobody's heard of this. Everybody's demo org. So what the heck is everybody's demo org? About 2.5, 3 years ago, Salesforce started developing this concept. And it is we often get clients who want to just kick the tires. They say, oh, do you have like somewhere I can just, play with it and get an idea of how easy or how it works or whatever, or what the capabilities are. And in the past, what we would say is, well, you know, go to Trailhead, and you know, you can spin up a playground. Like, okay, but that's usually just to learn a specific kind of feature. Or we say, oh, well, you can spin up a developer org, and that's free. Well, that's nice, but there's really no data, and there's nothing that helps guide me through how to use your application, right? It's for a developer. So we're talking people who are functional in nature, or maybe you're a developer and admin, or you're a business or a user, or you're an executive, right? So, or we would also sometimes in the past spin up a trial org for people. Same issue. In order to use a trial org properly, you're going to have some Salesforce skill sets on staff supporting that trial org. So what if none of that sort of meets your needs? So the Everybody Demo org is pre-built. So you go to that website down here, salesforce.com/EDO. And what it does is it spins up your own org that has focus on some key areas. So as you can see here, there's sales, there's service, there's Einstein or Tableau, there is high velocity sales, there's this really interesting one called projects, which is the App Exchange milestones things, Salesforce Maps, Pardot marketing as well too. So what I like about this, a few things. One, you know, it focuses on some key use cases or applications, but it also has videos to show you, well, what is this about? What can you do? It has links and basically scripts to walk through how to click through this. So if you're very new to a particular cloud or to Salesforce, this helps you walk through how to use it. And it is an actual org, right? So you're not, you know, sharing this org with somebody else. This is your org. You can go in, and if you want to go into contacts, you can come in here and you can create your own contact, right? So you can create your own data. You can create your own, okay, you can create your own data. You can change the layouts around, et cetera, et cetera. And if you wanted to, you can actually go back and reset your demo as well too. So here's the use case. Your organization, or you as a consultant, or whatever the case might be, you're thinking about how to deliver a new business requirement for your company or your client. And it's around something to do with sales or service or analytics. And you may not have that license or that cloud in your own sandbox environment. And you don't want to go to My Trailhead because, again, Trailhead is great for a lot of cases. But what you want to do here is you want to quickly demo something to a stakeholder to get their feedback, right? Is this what you were thinking, right? And you can actually go in here and you can, again, create your own data, and you can walk through the demo. You can, they can go in and they can do the same. So it's a really nice way to go in and, you know, just sort of kick the tires in your own Salesforce org without going off the rails, without, you know, stepping on somebody else's toes. And we try to incorporate a lot of the cool, interesting features in there as well too.
Question. Sorry, question.
Does this get,
Go ahead, Nash.
does this have expiry date, and is it API open for custom development?
No, so it's not going to get into the custom development stuff. So if you kind of notice, you don't have that little cog icon to go in and do get into the setup screen, right? So that's not there. The purpose of this is me as an end user, as a business user. What's my experience? Okay. So if you want to do that, Nash, you're looking at a developer org.
Okay, thank you.
My question, Chris, is let's say you developed, but you're just saying there's no setup. So it sort of defeats what I was going to ask, but I'll ask the question anyways, whether it's a dev org or or this org. So you develop something and they say, yeah, this is exactly what I want. Is there any way of making it easy to get that, all that work you put into it out and to put into your org without having to recreate it from scratch?
No. Again, that's not the purpose of this one, right? Because again, you have to be able to go into the setup screen in the back end and go into your packages, right? And create a package and then download it. So no.
Okay, and then one last question is, so you said you can, how can you change the screen layout or anything like that if you don't have the setup?
True, right, good call. So I don't know. I thought you could, and then I realized, oh yeah, that's not up there. So what you could do is you could change your menu items, right? Oh boy, I can change my tabs, right? So again, it's really focused on that end user experience.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So Chris, you mentioned it's your org, like everybody can have their own org, is that right? Or how long does it stay as mine once I get it as mine?
I did look into that before. I think it's about 90 days. It's either 30 or 90 days. Because typically what happens is people don't need it for 180 days or a year, right? It's just to go in and try something new, show your colleagues, show your stakeholders, and then get out, right? They may want to go in there and play around with it as well too, just to say, oh, well, how easy is this actually?
So there are always some data in there, right? Like a sample data.
Yeah, so it's pre-populated with some data, right?
Yeah.
So you can see here the data behind these funnel charts and donut charts, and then you can add your own data as well too.
So I think another main feature for this is like it's always up to date with the latest feature.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, so will be your developer org, even more so because it'll have some pre-release or even beta capabilities in there as well. But yeah, 3 times a year, the Everybody demo org gets updated to the latest, just like everybody else in the world. So if we've introduced a new capability and they think it's relevant for here, then they will turn it on in here as well too.
Yeah, but this one got data, right? Like easier to play with.
Yeah. Okay, so that was continuing to stay relevant. All right. We all use App Exchange. We all appreciate App Exchange. And one thing that is really seeming to grow in terms of content and use is the Salesforce Labs content at App Exchange, right? So if you're not aware of Salesforce Labs, you really have to get aware quickly. This is content, apps, flows, bolt-ons, whatever, that are built by Salesforce, and they have some value, so then they put them up on App Exchange. They're unmanaged, right? So we do not support them in any way. You can't call customer support and say, oh, I'm having trouble with my multi-factor authentication Salesforce Labs application. And they're like, sorry, that's unmanaged, that's not supported. Anything from Salesforce is unsupported. And that's important to know, but that's also why they're free, right? Because we don't have development teams constantly improving these. Sometimes we do have development teams improve them, right? So a good example is like an event management app that's been up on here for, geez, probably 8 years. It came out with a new release not too long ago. We also have one for projects. So in the Everybody demo org, I kind of pointed to the fact that there is a projects app in the Everybody demo org. Well, that's actually a Salesforce Labs solution where we've actually taken the Milestones PM app, and if you've ever gone to App Exchange and search for project management or something like that, Milestones PM comes up, and they used to have a free version and then their paid version. What's happened, and I don't know exactly when, but within the last year and a half, that free version of Milestones PM basically got wrapped into a Salesforce Lab app, And so now you have this great free project management solution available for you. So there's a lot of stuff there, right? Really easy. I mean, there's some things that are just no-brainers, like the Salesforce adoption dashboards. Like everybody should have these, right? Who's using it? What reports aren't being used? What apps aren't being used? Who's the most active in the Salesforce application throughout my company, et cetera, right? And of course, just like we all appreciate, the users rate them, right? So I'm not going to fill my org up with a bunch of junky apps that don't really fit the bill. So having them rated, having again the little video that shows you a quick overview of what the app does, really useful. So again, in the dash or in the slide deck, I have the URL that easily and quickly brings you to all Salesforce Labs content, right? Because sometimes finding that entire content is difficult. So yeah, I highly encourage you to use Salesforce Labs, because again, you're going to look like a rock star, because somebody goes, geez, and trust me, this happens with my clients. They go, well, today we manage events in Excel and email. And when Sarah or Joe go on vacation, like we lose continuity for those events. I said, oh, well, and I've shown this to multiple federal departments here. Well, we have a Salesforce Labs free application for event management. I install it into my demo org, put in some data, and away we go, right? So like really quick value add to an existing org. So you're going to save your company time, you're going to save your company money, right? You're going to look like they're going to put you up for a promotion. All right, any questions on that one before I move to the last one, the last of my 7? All right, so you've been trying to grow your brand internally, you've been trying to keep relevant, trying to keep, become more of a visionary, saving your company time and money. You're able to go and play with cool new features without, putting a bunch of garbage into your sandboxes. You also have this nice everybody's demo org that you can give to your stakeholders and say, here, try this. Here's an account. Play around with it. You can't screw it up. If you do, hit the reset button, and everything's good, right? So you've done all that. So as I mentioned earlier, right? So Salesforce, we are growing probably faster now than ever. I think at last count, this would be like start of February, we're just about 60,000 employees worldwide now, and they expect in the next 5 years to go to about 110, 120. So we're going to not only double our revenue, but we're also going to be doubling our size of Salesforce in terms of staff as well. So as a hiring manager, I want to kind of give you my perspective. What do I look for when I'm looking for somebody for my team, or a candidate to possibly, reach out to for my team? And I've managed at Oracle in a couple of positions as well too. And like I said, I spend a lot of time using LinkedIn because I think it's a great tool for finding potential candidates, right? So I've got a list here, but I thought, it might be even better if I actually just went in and, going to use my profile as an example. Again, I'm not saying my profile is like, the best things since sliced bread. I'm just saying, here's what I look for. So I always start by searching Salesforce, and then location. I put in the location, whether it's Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, whatever. That's how I start. If you don't have the word Salesforce in your LinkedIn profile, I'm never going to find you, right? Unless somebody tells me through word of mouth that, oh yeah, they actually do know Salesforce. They're just not on LinkedIn or something. So also, I'm going to go kind of like from top to bottom through my profile. The visuals, just having a visual, just adds something, right? Because Salesforce looks for creative people, right? And if you don't have like a background image, or if you don't have a photo of yourself, then that tells me that you're not the creative kind of mindset, or have the creative kind of mindset that I or Salesforce might be looking for. So have something up there, right? It could be something personal, because we do care about people's personalities. You know, in every interview, I ask people, so what do you do to relieve stress? What do you do in your free time on the weekends, right? What do you do? I see you have some volunteer experience. So those kinds of photos for the background, the banner bar, are fine. But you know, I always would suggest that you at least have a photo of yourself. I know some people don't like to do that, you know, for various reasons. That's fine. It just helps me, because it allows me this connection, like this immediate connection on LinkedIn, versus just looking at a you know, the gray and white profile avatar placeholder. A lot of people also put, you know, underneath their name their current title, which is fine, right? But that is not the purpose of that section of LinkedIn. This is kind of that attention grabber. This is that billboard, right? Think of this as your billboard that you're driving down the highway and you see. So you have to put something, or I suggest put something in there that again shows that you're creative, you're passionate about Salesforce, or depending on what roles or what industry you're looking to get into, kind of slant it towards that as well too. Like if you're really into, I don't know, banking, or if you're into pharmaceuticals, or if you're into government or whatever, right? Make that part of your brand right up front. Getting connections, really easy, right? If, you know, again, I go back to, I think it was Nikhil, who's graduated from Carleton. Build up your connections as quickly as possible, right? You only have to get over 500, because what it does is it goes up to 500 plus connections, and then it doesn't say, oh, it's not like Instagram or goes, you know, they've got 8,642 followers, right? So it just shows me and other recruiters that, okay, this person's connected, they're active on LinkedIn, so they have a professional kind of mindset. Okay? It's important as well too to write something clear, concise about yourself in the about section, right? Because what this does is it gives me a really quick summary of not your job experience, but you as a person, where your passion might lie. So this is also very important to kind of tailor to what it is you're looking for in terms of your career. Okay. If you have anything featured, so if you've published something, if you presented at a Salesforce event where it was recorded, or you know, you contribute to blog posts about Salesforce or whatever, this featured section is a good place to put that. Because if you, especially for me, right, people in my role as a solution engineer, we present a lot to clients. So I've found people on LinkedIn who actually have a video or an audio of them presenting at Dreamforce, or them presenting at another user group, right? So I'm like, okay, good, they have presentation experience, and I can sit there and watch it, and it gives me so much more information, you know, right up front than if I just was looking at a resume. And then as we get down, you know, put something in each experience, right? Some people just put like Salesforce 3 years, 1 month. Okay, and they might put their job title, and that's it. Like, okay, but again, as a hiring manager, when I'm looking for candidates, I look at least the first. So that's not necessarily the first, you know, 1 or 2 jobs. It's what you've done in the last 5 years. Because if you got your Salesforce admin cert back in 2010, but then you started working for Microsoft in 2012. Yeah, you're going to show up on my LinkedIn search, but then I'm going to realize, oh, but they haven't been in the Salesforce ecosystem for the last 9 years, right? So put something short, concise, for, I would say, you know, it's really the last 5, maybe 10 years experience. I just happened to work at Oracle for way too long. So that's why I go way back to 2000 and, yeah, it was 2000 actually. And again, don't be shy of using the word Salesforce, right? Or, you know, the names of our clouds, or the fact that you know flows or whatever, right? So it's hard because keeping your LinkedIn profile up to date whenever you're looking for a job is difficult, because if you're looking for 2 separate kinds of jobs, then if it's customized for one job, and the person who's trying to hire for the other job looks at it and go, oh, that's not the candidate we want. So it's got to be relevant enough but generic enough so that if you're looking for different kinds of jobs out there, it's easily understandable. And of course, you know, you've got to have your certifications in here as well too. Really important for me, because I somehow slipped into Salesforce 3 years ago without any Salesforce certs or any Salesforce knowledge, but I had a lot of pre-sales experience or solution engineering experience. So for solution engineers that I'm looking for, you have to have at least one certification, because we need people that can come on board and get going as quickly as possible. Skills and endorsements, I don't think that's used as much as people would hope or expect, so I probably wouldn't spend too much time on that. Recommendations, they are helpful, right? They give me the opportunity to find out a bit more about your work style or your personality, or the types of professional relationships you have. And then, of course, accomplishments, specifically languages or anything else that you might want to post here. So those are just kind of my tips as a hiring manager. If you're looking to, you know, change careers, or if you're kind of passively open to new opportunities, which, by the way, you can toggle that switch on or off in your profile too, so recruiters can more easily find you. Those are just my top thoughts when it comes to your LinkedIn profile. And with that, I am done. So, you know, we've got a few more minutes here, so why don't we just, if there's any questions, you know,
Chris,
we've got 3 minutes.
I've got a question. I wasn't aware of Salesforce Maps, so I was just checking it out. Do you know if there's anywhere that I can trial it or demo it?
It should be in the everybody demo org, but you actually probably want to build it, right?
Well, I just want to play with it, see what it's all about. I didn't see it in the everyone demo org, but I'll keep looking.
Yeah, but you're gonna want to actually build it. So good question. So that used to be Map Anything.
Okay.
Right? That was on App Exchange, and then we acquired that about 2 years ago. So Mike, if you want to send me an email so I can get your email, and then I can see if there's something publicly available where we can do it.
Cool.
Or try it. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, my email is just chris.robertson@salesforce.com.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, that was amazing. Like, some really good resources there. What does a solution engineer actually do at Salesforce?
Yeah. So again, we support the sales reps, right? So we're sort of the product knowledgeable folks who are responsible for doing discovery, finding out, you know, think of it like the you know, what's the discovery. So in terms of like, what's your current state? You know, what are the issues with the current state? What do you have in mind for the future state? And what kind of value or benefits are you hoping to achieve? So as solution engineers, we take that information and then we kind of map those to our products or our clouds. And then we, through a combination of slides as well as custom demos, we come back and we say, okay, so based on what we heard, we've put this together as kind of an art of the possible vision for you. And then we show it to them and they go, yeah, no, I mean, if we had that, life would be so much better. And then we go, great. And then the sales rep goes, all right, let's talk price, right?
Okay.
So we're constantly working with different clients, which is one of the nice things about solution engineering. It's not like a consulting job where you're on the same project for a year or whatever, like every week we're working with probably 3 or 4 different opportunities with the sales reps.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Welcome. All right. Well, with that, I appreciate the invite, and I unfortunately, as a solution engineer, I'm busy, so I will not be able to stick around for the last half hour or 45 minutes. So, but I'll stick around for a little bit if anybody wants to ping me through the chat or at chris.robertson@salesforce.com.
Chris, thank you very much. That was very enjoyable. Great slides. Thank you. Okay, Brandon, I'll let you, Chris, if you can stop sharing. And then Brandon, you can start sharing.
Yep, 1 second.
So Brandon, I need you to be finished by around 1:50-ish, okay?
Yep. Can you guys see my screen? The deck?
Yes.
No,
Oh, no.
no, we just see
No.
your
Desktop.
desktop.
Ah, let me.
Kevin, you can stop recording and have 2 records instead of one.
Oh, it's okay now. It's just.
Oh, I think now should be fine. What about now?
Yeah, now
Yes.
we see it.
All right, the deck, right?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Brandon. Today I'm going to introduce you some of the Sales Cloud features that ultimately can help your sales team to boost their productivity. And before I get started, just a little bit about myself. My name is Brandon. I am a solution engineer, particularly in health and life science industry. So a lot of my time, I live in Health Cloud and Velocity and marketing and community. I'm also a 11 times certified application architect, a little bit different from Chris. My focus for solution engineering is more on the implementation side. So I would assess customers' requirements and to roadmap architect their future infrastructure based on the product that they have purchased and recommend them different features that they should be doing to tackle their challenges. I'm also a Salesforce blogger. I blog on, Salesforce career, Salesforce features. I have a link there as well. If you're interested, you can definitely check it out. I also do online training. I have 1 community cloud consultant online courses available. If you want to take a look at that, you can also take that too. I didn't start my career with Salesforce. I was an SAP ERP consultant for about 5 years before I changed to CRM industry. So for a lot of organizations, a lot of time they use both ERP and CRM, and doing integration is part of my job to advise them how to do that. But today we're going to only focusing on the native functions in Sales Cloud that you can use, very little tiny tweaks that you can implement in a most effective and fast way to help your sales reps to onboard quicker and to adapt their working style. The first one I would like to talk about is probably a lot of people have talked about this many times, is the path and success guidance. I've seen companies using path a lot, but the success guidance is not really being used the right way that they're supposed to. If you work with a lot of sales users, you probably heard a lot of complaints from them. It was like, okay, I'm trying to save a record, but somehow it just couldn't do because it says some of the process, some of the flows behind the scene that couldn't fire. And I don't know what's going wrong. And I have to contact administrators or developers to help me troubleshoot that. And that caused a lot of issues. And 99% of the time was because some of the field were being used to map or to create some certain records in certain process. That being said, I would like to use guidance for success in some situation where you can put some key fields in it to warn your users what kind of field you need to complete before you save the record in order to save their time, avoid some errors. And also you can move a lot of your, your guidance or the way you want your sales team to work on certain deals in certain stages as a guidance for success in this part. Each single part that you can add different informations in it, as long as you don't add a big chunk of articles, you should be fine. And you can add, for example, pictures, you can add links, you can add some emojis and different kind of things in it to make your page looks more alive. I do find sales users sometimes when you make your page look alive and colorful, they tend to work much better. And another good thing about using path is once you have the path, you can take advantage of Kanban view to help your end users to move their pipeline. That tends to save a lot of time for users to click into the record and trying to modify it. I'm going to just go to the system to give you a feeling of how that feels. For example, this is my developer org, and you can see for this particular type of opportunity, we have certain stages here. And when you click this little button, you will see what are the key fields that you expect your end users to put it in, as well as some guidance for success. And it can be dynamically changing through different process. And of course, for those different process, you can customize it to meet your different requirements for different type of deals. Say if you have 3 different kind of record types for your opportunity, and one is software, one is hardware, the other one probably is service. And they all have very different process need to go through in order to close the deal. You can definitely customize 3 different paths for them and put them on your page so your user can dynamically look at all of those paths and how to use them to guide them close the deals. And by customizing this is also quite simple, but path is not it is an out-of-the-box feature, but you need to enable it. So it's very simple. If this is your first time, there will be one button that you would have to click it to enable it. Once you enable it, you can create as many paths as possible that you want. And here I only have 2 different kind of products. So those are for opportunity. If you're using Service Cloud, you can also add different kind of paths to your cases, as long as you have those drop-down list available for the stages or status or basically anything you want. And I'm going to pause here for 1 second just to make sure if anyone is clear on this or if you have any questions. All right. So the second one is account team and collaboration. This is not really being used a lot by many companies, which, to be honest, I don't really know why. Because account team is not only just, for showing who is responsible for this account, but also to share information with key stakeholders within your organization that you want to work with them together. But for a lot of organizations, if you keep your record open to everyone, say if your organization-wide default is public read and write, then it's pointless for you to use this feature because everyone can access and edit the record. But if your organization-wide default is at private or public read only, then you can take advantage of this to open up a different kind of access for your people. We know that before the end of last year, technically before the most recent Salesforce release, manual sharing is not available in Lightning. Only account team can be used to, as a substitute of manual sharing. But manual sharing now is available on Salesforce Lightning, so you can use that if you want to share the record. But I still don't want to use that instead of using this was because manual sharing is not customizable, whereas account team is very customizable. The reason I'm saying that is because account team members right now is a first class object that can be used and customized, which means that you can add a different custom field on this part rather than just using different kind of access level, different kind of roles. And because it is a first class object, what you can do is you can implement this into process. You can use this in a process builder to trigger some certain process for you to fire some internal logics for your deals. And you can also use data loaders to upload those kind of informations to different accounts. And also you can use those different accounts to extend your capability of working with a lot of people. Give you an example is in my current org, as a solution engineer, I support sales team. And we also work closely with consultant and delivery. So a lot of time we want to make some certain opportunities available for this solution engineer, this sales, and this consultant. And we normally work together as a team for most of the cases. In that case, we can define our own default teams and add these default teams to every single account to make sure that people will have the visibility to certain record. So your sales admin will not receive those tickets such as, oh, I cannot see this record. Can you open this for me? Why can I see this? Why can I see that? So to make it a little bit more easy to understand, I'm going to go to the developer org to give you a feeling of this. So now you see that I have this account team down here, and then you can basically just add different team members here, who you want to add it to and what team role is, and all of those are customizable. And not only you can define your account access, what kind of access you want to give them, but also the related records, which is case and opportunities. That's why I chose to use account team rather than opportunity team and case team. Similar to path, this is out of the box function, but this one you have to be enabled. It has to be enabled. Very simple. You can just go to account team. If this is your first time using account team, of course, you will see a button to ask you if you want to enable it or not. And upon you're enabled it, you can change those account team roles right over here. It's just similar to all of the other pick list. You can deactivate some of that and change the name of that, or replace some of those values. And the reason I said this is a first class object is because at the object manager, you can actually find this object, account team members. What that means is you can define the page layout of it, and you can define the field and relationship of it. To give you an example is I worked with these customers back then, and they have a little checkbox for account team members. And whenever this checkbox is checked, some certain process builder behind the scene will fire to notify other teams to work on some other tasks. And because of this little checkbox and the first class object, the nature of that, we will be able to build in these logics without even one single line of code. But if you don't use this, if you use manual sharing, you would have to use Apex to help you build in this internal logic, and your maintenance cost will dramatically increase from using this declarative functions.
Brandon, can I cut in and ask a question?
Yeah.
So you said something that, and you sort of went really quickly. So why do you say account teams are better than opportunity teams? Can you explain that again?
Yes, because your account team can help you to define your opportunity access. For example, when you add this team member, you're not only just to define account access, you're also defining the related opportunity access and also related case access. The reason I don't use opportunity access is when you are sharing records inside of Salesforce, no matter which mean you are using, you're actually creating a sharing record behind the scene. And when you have those cumulative sharing record behind the thing, the internal logic calculation will take a lot of time to do it. So if you have the same opportunity record that you share it, by using account access, at the same time, you also use it by the opportunity access. When you provide those two, the system behind the scene will calculate it twice, and it will dramatically decrease the performance and increase the time of those sharing record calculation.
Very good. See that where it says case access, I'm really glad you brought this picture up or this screen up. So if the client is not, or the org does not use cases, can you remove that from the display because it's just confusing?
Yeah, so it won't be showing up if you don't have Service Cloud.
Yeah, but even if you just have Sales Cloud, you still have cases.
Yeah. Yes, you can remove it. That's why it's the first class object, because you have the capability of doing the page layout for this, as well as for this portion. I believe you should be doing that in the page layout. If you
Under
go to
related list, then
exactly, so you go to
Okay.
page layout under related list right over here, and you can see that some certain things. Oh, but those ones are not available. I guess you'll have to edit the page layout instead of this one, because
Okay.
it doesn't really show up for those
don't worry
ones.
about it. Just
Yeah.
yeah. Does Opportunity Team allow you to? That's its own object too, so you can do the same thing if you are using Opportunity Team.
Correct. And similar to account, you will have to enable this Opportunity Team first.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not using it. So if you use it, you just click Enable Team Selling and click Save, and you will see this showing up on your page, on your opportunity. And it will ask you if you want to add it onto some certain page layout at a time you enable it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Hey, Brandon, this is Yu. And so in regarding to the term like first class object, can you give an example of non-first class object?
That's a really good question. I can't really think of any, but there are, for example, like menu sharing. When you are manually sharing something, that is not a first class object. However, when you are manually sharing a record, it creates a sharing record behind the scene. So if you query that, you would be able to see that record showing as a menu sharing record. Or if you're doing Apex sharing, right? So if you are, for example, when you are defining some Apex classes behind the scene, you want to share some certain record to some certain group of people by using Apex, it automatically creates an Apex sharing record behind the scene. But this sharing record is not first class. You cannot customize it.
And another way to say it is like you won't find it on the object manager.
It creates record. So it creates record, but you cannot customize it. If you if I say it this way, for example, you can imagine that as an Excel sheet. So the first class is the sheet that open edit access for you. You can add different columns, not only just the rows, but also the columns you can edit as customize the field on Salesforce. But for the non-first class objects, which are the tabs that are not opening to you to add columns, you can only insert some rows, add different kind of records, but you cannot define it. You cannot customize it.
Okay.
Yeah. And previously, I believe that was early 2020 spring release, this account team became first class object. Before that, it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is just similar to all of the other first class object like opportunity or contact, you can use that in your process builder, in your flow builder, as well as a object in your Apex classes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Okay. Let's go back to the next one. So the next one, I don't really have a demo for this. This is Einstein opportunity scoring. The reason I don't have a demo for this, it has a minimum record requirement in order to calculate, to show you the result of Einstein scoring. But essentially what it does is it uses your artificial intelligence skills and machine learning technologies behind the scene to take all of your past record into consideration, using all of different attributes you have on certain records, and to calculate the likelihood of closing a deal in the future for your non-close win deal. So the good thing about this is it became free as of last year's spring release. So every single regular at an enterprise level Sales Cloud users can take advantage of these features. And this feature what it does is it gives you a score. The score is from 1 to 99. 1 as, you know, the least likely to close, and 99 as the most likely to close. And when you hover over to those numbers, you will see the top positives and top negatives listed for you. So your sales reps will prioritize their deals directly in their list view by sorting this field to focus on the deals that has higher likelihood of closing win. And they can hover over to take a look at the positives and negatives to avoid some mistakes and to, you know, take some appropriate actions on it. And this is similar to the lead scores. Lead score has been free for a very long time on Salesforce, and it's similar, but the difference is for lead scores, you can put this little squares on top of your page, whereas opportunity scores, as of now, you still have to hover over and to take a look at it for most of the cases. Of course, you can customize it using some, you know, programmatic approach to do it, but for a lot of cases, it's probably not really necessary to do it. And another great thing is many people will say, okay, so my opportunity is going more and more, bigger and bigger over time. Then how do you make sure that this will calculate it accordingly? The great thing is, I believe the Einstein opportunity score is automatically recalculated every 15 days, I think. Every 15 days. I will have to check on a 5 days or 15 days, but definitely very frequent. So what it means is you will always have the most updated base data module to help you predict your future data likelihood of closing win. And all of those scoring modules can also be customized. When Einstein Opportunity Score first released a few years ago, you cannot really customize this at all. So it basically just take everything into consideration. Whereas right now, you can define what attributes you do not want to be included in your prediction module. For example, you probably have, say, like 150 different fields on your opportunity. However, only 20 of those fields you want to be used to define your prediction module to be, you know, to be used for your future predictions. You can define those ones that you want to use and define those ones you want to exclude, which makes your module fits your business module. I've helped many customers. My previous employer has been using this for a very long time since the first release, and it definitely helped the sales reps to, you know, prioritize their work in a lot of ways. But unfortunately, I do not have the demo today because it definitely requires at least 5,000 records in the system for developer org. I don't have that many. But just to give you a sense, so you can see all of those screenshots. If you have a live org, you can definitely activate it. It doesn't really affect anything else, and it doesn't really slow down. It will take about 1 to 2 days to calculate everything, and you can just turn it on to, you know, to give a try. If you don't like it, you can always turn it off anytime you want. Any questions? Yeah.
Do you have to show the score on the view for
no,
it to work?
No, absolutely not. For this score is essentially just a field. It's a customized formula field, uncustomizable from our end, but it's a formula field dynamically showing up on your opportunity record, and you can add this field on this related on this list view to help them. But you definitely have the option not to use it or use it. But I found most of the cases are being used in the list view to help sales reps prioritize their work.
So you sort of confused me. So you're saying that opportunity score is a custom field in opportunity. Can you sort of explain what you mean? What is the formula you use to do that then?
So the formula is being defined by Einstein engine. No, you don't define the formula. What you define is what attributes you want to take into, you want to bring that into your prediction module. Once you have that, the Salesforce will help you to calculate it behind the scene by using machine learning and artificial intelligence skills, different kind of algorithms, formulas behind the scene to calculate this for you. That's how they come up with the score, as well as some top positives and top negatives. So in other words is, let's just say if you don't want to use this feature, but you have a data science team, you have a whole team of data science to help you define those algorithms on machine learning. Can you do this? Absolutely, yes, you can do this. But the cost of maintaining this and cost of using those data, those algorithm attributes to calculate this score, it's much higher than what you can do with Salesforce native features here.
I'll maybe add on to that too, Brandon, is you know, this particular feature and any other AI features inside of Salesforce apps were designed to allow administrators, developers, you know, technically adept business users to do this stuff themselves, and not a data scientist, not a machine learning expert, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing, right? We designed this and incorporated it with the business user in mind, not data scientists, right? The second thing is, like any good data or any good AI solution, it needs, the more data you can feed it, the more accurate the predictions or insights are going to be. So if you spin up a brand new org and you enable, you know, Einstein scoring, it's going to be pretty bad at the start because it's got no track record, right? So we typically say you're going to need about 6 months to a year's worth of data to get really good, accurate insights and predictions, right?
Yeah.
Now, you may already have an org that's been around for 5 years and you put this on top, fantastic. But I'm just saying, if you start with a brand new org today, don't expect really accurate predictions or insights until you've got more historical data to build off of.
I got another question for either one of you. So if you have an org that's like 15 years old and you turn it on and you define your parameters or whatever the terminology you use to say these are the ones that artificial intelligence is supposed to use, does it instantly calculate it, or does it take time for it to calculate it based on all the data that's there?
It takes few days. It normally takes few days to calculate the metrics for you. Depends on your data load. To give you an example is before I turned this on for my previous employer, they have about 10 years of data and it took about 2 days.
Okay, that's fine.
To let it showing up for all of the future opportunities on it. It really depends on how many data that you have. Yeah.
If you have if you're trying to show this in a dev org, and your dev org is really old and you have not lots of data, but you're saying you need to have at least 5,000 opportunities, open opportunities?
Yes, no, closed. So what it does is it take your historical closed data to take all of them into a prediction model to predict your open opportunity in the future. So the database is the closed opportunity in the past, and the predicted ones are the ones in the future. So if you open a closed one opportunity, the opportunity score will always be 0. So it won't give you a number because it's already closed. It will only showing up the number if the opportunity is still open and in the future. So if you don't have enough number that will feed the algorithm, Salesforce won't even let you to turn it on. So you must have a certain amount of the data in order to turn this on.
And if your close dates are really like your salespeople have not kept their close dates up to date, and they're all in the past, or a good chunk of them, let's say 80% of the close dates on your opportunities, they're still open, but the close dates go back a year or two.
It's counted as open. So it doesn't matter your date. It only matters of your stage. So your stage has to be closed in order to be the base data. Say if you have an opportunity 3 years ago and it's still open, Salesforce, when they're calculating this, it will see this as a open opportunity and give you a score, but your
Really
score
low.
will be very low because it will indicate your close date was way in the past.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, good.
Yeah. Any more questions on this?
I got one more. I'm sorry for taking.
Yeah.
Chris, it's actually towards Chris. Chris, you know that org for all or whatever you called it?
Everybody's demo org, yep.
Yeah. Do you have Einstein opportunity scoring in that one that you can actually play with?
I don't know. It's a good question. I would be surprised, right? Simply because there's a lot of chugging in the back end to get those insights to populate.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
for people kicking the tires, Salesforce probably doesn't want to pay for all that CPU.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead, Brandon. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. And the next one I wanted to talk about is how you can utilize the way you customize the system to make your end users feel more personal. We all know that sales team are probably have the strongest personality in your org because they're under a lot of stress and pressure. So to work with their clients, and everyone probably has very different ways of working. Some of them, they prefer probably, work from a data perspective. They want to take a look at their dashboard, their performance. And some of that, they're probably, more leaning towards to start with a to-do list or their calendar. So what you can do is you can customize your platform based on what they really want, what they really like, by using those three, by focusing the three different kind of areas. The first one is your page. We all know that Salesforce has a very comprehensive page that will show you, different records, different kind of basic information, the fields, and that can be really overwhelming. And for a lot of sales teams, when they just look at all those numbers, it doesn't mean anything. We're all visual animals. We like things that are visualized. That's why I personally prefer to do something like this, is to add some, reports and dashboards directly into your account record, because you have the capability to customize your page. In this case, when your sales reps coming on this, your sales rep will definitely see, for example, who is the decision maker and influencer for each account, how much of a revenue this person has brought in the past few years, right? And what about, different revenues by different products, and what is the revenue trend in this account? Why February is so little and March is so big? All of those numbers tells you a story by, showing them the visualizer representation. And this is very easy to achieve. It's not like something really hard. You can just edit it in your Lightning page. Lightning page is one of my favorite things to do. You can do thousands of things to do. I remember Chris mentioned something on App Exchange, and there are a lot of Lightning, the page components that you can download it, and they are free. You can add it onto those pages. For example, if you want to have some time converter, some currency converter, you can all download those and add it on your page, which makes your end user, more convenient to work. They don't have to Google everything. And when you want to add those kind of dashboard and reports on it, it's basically just a very simple report that you build in your org with a chart on it. And you can just filter it by account ID because you put it on your account. So you only want to show this record based on the account that you are on. If you want to put this on your contact record, you can filter it by your contact ID. So very simple ways that you can make your page look much nicer than what it's supposed to be. And you can also do different things, like what I did is to add those kind of little pictures or little icons in front of that to make people feel this page is alive. It's not really dead, just a different kind of records. And you can rename those to, to-do list or collaboration. For me, this to-do list is basically just activities. But when you showing up activities, people are going to say, what the heck is activity? Like, how am I going to use this? They don't know. But when you rename it to something like to-do list, people know, oh, this is something that I probably should focus on. Those are the tasks that I'm supposed to do. And when I see the collaboration rather than chatter, because a lot of people say chatter, what I'm going to do is chatter. But when you say collaboration, they know this is where I ask my colleagues and I work with my colleagues. There are a lot of different kind of tweaks that you can do for different accounts. And you can also see there are different, items here that you can add it on. Once you downloaded something from your, App Exchange, you can also see those under custom part as well. So this is just one part for the page. And I also mentioned that something you can customize for your different kind of apps. So one of the greatest thing about Lightning is you can define different kind of applications here for different roles. Give an example is, so I have like two different apps. The first one is Sales Console. The second one is Executive Center. So I target different group of people, different group of users using different apps. When they get on Salesforce, they see completely different thing. For example, when I'm on this Salesforce Sales Console, when I go to homepage, I see the customized welcome, messages. I added different information. I add, dashboard for my sales reps to look at. I add the lunch center for them to know where to go, what to do, and different kind of, their deals working in progress, so they don't forget things. And I add some today's focus, which is the to-do list. And I can add different other related informations just right on this page, which means my sales reps doesn't even need to go anywhere else. One homepage can guide them, can direct them to everywhere they want to go. This is a one-stop shop for them. So they will feel their home, that they can find everything they want. One of the challenges for sales reps is they complain about, I cannot find things on Salesforce. I don't know what to do with Salesforce. But if you can customize this piece of software to fit your user behavior, then it's a win-win situation. In my opinion, that you should never change your working style to fit in a piece of software. That piece of software should change itself to meet your requirement. That's the flexibility and the greatest thing about Salesforce and about all of those customization capabilities that I'm mentioning today.
Can you say coming soon? Is that like the tasks that are coming? What do you mean by coming soon?
This closing soon?
Yeah, sorry, close. Oh, those are opportunities closing soon. Okay.
Yes. So this is actually just a list view. It's just a list view that some opportunity going to close this month. So you can define your own logics, your own list of views, not only just list of views. You can put report, you can put dashboard, you can put, some flows, screen flows in it to let people to work. I work with my previous companies. Our HR also used this. We actually even put this commission calculation flow just directly on this homepage for them to calculate their own commissions.
Okay, you got everybody's attention if you're a salesperson.
Yeah. Any questions here?
Hey, Brandon, it's Dave here. No questions, but honestly, man, this is some really cool tips. I knew about these features a little bit, but seeing it live in action here has given me some really cool ideas. So I appreciate it, especially when you change the chatter and activities. I feel like that people say that those words to me all week. So it's a smart idea. Thank you.
No problem at all. Yeah, and also this tab feature was also new released last year, summer release, I believe. Before you couldn't do this. So it definitely gives you a lot of flexibilities. Every year, Salesforce releases a lot of things related to customized app and pages. Yeah.
Oh, you add icon to this tab name. Just can you show us this?
Sorry?
Can you show us tip how you add icon to the sub-tab name?
Oh, those icons. Those icons are just built in for my app, for my Apple keyboard, basically. So you can just click Control, Command, and space, and it will just show up. I think it really depends on what system you are on. If you're on Windows, I'm not quite sure what are the shortcuts, but those are essentially the same as what you have on your phones. Those kind of the little icons.
So
Okay.
just that alone is worth buying a Mac for. So.
That's my next question. If I run this same org on the Windows, this icon may change to be different. Okay.
No, those icons will showing up no matter which system you are on, is 100% compatible.
Okay, can you show that? Because I think Nash has got a good point. Show us how you did that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm going to just add a page, added this home page. For example, if I were to, so when you click this, you will see on the side, it shows it's a tab. And I'm going to add this one. For example, I want this to be, so I just do Control, Command, and space on my MacBook, and all of those were just showing up, and you can choose whichever you want, but you definitely don't want to use the wonky ones. You want to use the ones that makes the most sense to you. So, and just as simple as that, and then done, and it was showing up. And my company laptop is a Windows, and I had no problem seeing them at all.
Good, Brandon.
Yeah. You can definitely Google what is the shortcut for Windows. I do believe there is a shortcut. I actually learned this quick from one blog on Salesforce Ben. I can share that with Cav later if you guys are interested.
Sure, yeah, send the blog to me and I'll put it on the community page, or you can put it on the community page yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I see that we are running out of time, but there is just one last one, is about the collaborative forecast. So a lot of people say, oh, my company doesn't do this type of forecast and I don't want to use this. But the thing is, for me, when I look at sales collaboration, a collaborative forecast is not a forecast. It is actually give you a comprehensive view to work with your manager together to look at your pipeline and where you are going. And that's how I see this portion of the job, rather than using this to do a forecast, because we all know sales forecast is so hard and it's very complicated task. You cannot just simply put some numbers in it. I'll just quickly give you guys a sense of what it looks like. This one is out of the box, but you do have to enable it. After you enable it, you will define different kind of, features, different kind of metrics here. You have to map different stages of your opportunity to different forecast categories. For example, let's just say for me, anything over 80%, I put it in commit. Anything over 40%, I put it in best case, and anything, as long as they're open pipeline. So that's how I put it here. And when you get on this as a sales rep, you will see different kind of numbers you have in different categories. And you will also see your quota. For example, if I was Lisa, and when I look at my March number, I have a $1 million of a quota to achieve in March. As of now, I have already closed $799,000. But if I make sure that in the last few days, I close all of the opportunities over 80%, I can make it $1.15 million. If I can make all of the 40% deals close, I can make it $1.6 million. That's how, as sales rep, it can really, motivate you to work on those deals and to really know where your pipeline is and how much you are working on it. And as you can see that you also can see this quota attainment numbers in here. So you know that you are 20% off for this month, but your April is amazing. You have already, achieved your target in April. And one of the greatest thing about this is a lot of companies, they have different product. When you are using product and define your product into different product family, you will also have the capabilities of, looking at your opportunity based on different product. So you have a sense of which products is the best selling product in your pipeline and how you can use it. By activating this feature is very, very simple. You just need to go to here and click forecast. When you first open it, you will only see this option, forecast settings, and you enable it. And then from there, you can define your forecast type. You can define whether you want your manager and your owner to adjust the number or not, or how do you want the number to showing up, whether cumulative or not, and how many months, and what is the forecast period that you wanted to show up here. So that's essentially what this does. So not really a forecast feature, but also to give you a sense of your pipeline and where you are going. And that's basically everything I want to show you guys today. Any questions?
I'm impressed, Brandon. That's
That was great, Brandon. Yeah, it was awesome.
Those were all out of the box, very fast deployment. I can ensure you a few minutes and you can make a big difference in your sales work.
Yeah, I read one of Brandon's blogs and I was, holy geez. And so I called him up, or I sent him an email, said, "Do you like to present?" And anyway, so then we had this meeting. So this is good. Thank you very much. Definitely exceeded my expectations, Brandon. Thank you.
No problem.
Dave just mentioned those small tweaks on the charter and activity, which I feel like which will make a big difference for people who are using it. Yeah, and also all those small emoji. Love it.
I love those. I use them all the time.
Yeah, adding a little bit of color. Yeah, so
Yeah.
much.
Actually, you can also use hashtag in your chatter. I was going to actually mention that. It serves similar to Twitter and Facebook and your Instagram. So you can hashtag some certain, keyword. And when you have a certain amount of hashtag in your chatter, topic actually will showing up on the top of your page. You can add, so the topic will be a component on your page customization. So it's a component. You can drag it onto your page, and then you can click those topics and see all of the previous chatter histories. That will definitely help your sales reps to always stay in loop to know different kind of conversations.
Mhm.
Cool feature of the topics is chatter streams, right? Being able to drill in on that as well.
Sorry?
Have you ever used chatter streams?
No, I have never used chatter streams.
Yeah, it's pretty useful for grouping chatter posts.
Is it only? I think it's only working in a group. Is it? It's not working on the record level.
Yeah, you can choose which records to like. You can choose to follow topics, and then you can choose which topics you want to follow. That's how I utilize it.
Oh.
Yeah, that follow button at the top, like on opportunities, is fantastic, right? Because you get that morning email, you just review the email, gives you all the updates from the previous day. Like, fantastic. In 5 minutes, I've just reviewed 10 opportunities where something has changed. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't even click that. I just go in and I create a new stream. I search topics, and then I'll search like hashtag whatever whatever topics you have, and you get a list of all the chatters that contain that hashtag. It's pretty useful.
That's good to know. Thanks, Jeff.
So the hashtag has to be manually added, right? Or like it will auto-generate?
Your admin can define hashtag for people to use. So once the hashtags are defined, when you hashtag it, it will showing up automatically. But a lot of the time, you can define it on your own.
Okay.
Hey, we got 1 more minute before we, any other questions for Brandon? Okay, then I'm going to stop the recording. I do have a couple questions for a couple people.